Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica on our long-running series Unported playlist, where I take a look at some of my favorite unported arcade games of all time. And today we're taking a look at Star Wars Trilogy Arcade, released in 1998 by Sega. Before we get too far involved though, if you could do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. We also have a Patreon link in the description if you feel so inclined, because we appreciate your guys' support. And this one has been a viewer request for the longest time. People keep asking if I'm going to show Star Wars Trilogy, because I've shown a lot of the other Model 3 arcade games, because it's one of my favorite platforms that Sega ever developed, and I figured why not. And full admission, I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan ever. I've seen all the movies, but I don't really get too far into the lore, so if I misspeak and call the wrong thing, you'll have to forgive me, because this really isn't my favorite movie in the world. Hopefully I don't get beat up in the comments too much. I can appreciate it for what it is, but I just didn't really grow up watching it. My father was a Star Trek fan, so I'm way more into that series, even if you don't get as good of arcade games. But as far as the game itself is concerned, it is absolutely awesome because it brings you through the entire trilogy, and it's on the Model 3, which is one of my favorite platforms, and everything looks great, especially for a game that was released in 1998. Considering the Dreamcast was just around the corner, in some instances the Model 3 just looks nicer and cleaner than what would be done on the Dreamcast. Now, why was this not ported to the Dreamcast? I'm definitely sure that's down to licensing issues, because Star Wars is a licensing nightmare. So much so that I'm not even sure if I'm going to get a copyright strike when I upload this, because I haven't tried yet. So maybe you'll never watch this, but if you are, I was able to massage it through. And I'm going to try to give you guys a little bit of a break to hear the sound effects and the music, but if that does throw a copyright flag, I guess I'll just have to talk through the entire thing. But obviously we have an iconic scene right here, and I appreciate that the game goes through all those different heightening moments of the movies and translates them really well to the arcade experience. And obviously it has different genres in it. You have, the first-person shooting TIE fighter sequence right here, and then you're going to go to more of a light gun style shooter, and then you have individual battles with Darth Vader and Boba Fett, where you're wielding your lightsaber. So it has a lot of versatility in the gameplay, and I really appreciate that, and it's a relatively long experience for an arcade game. Now, I did play this when it was in arcades, and I wasn't very good at it, and I'm still not now that great, and I'm not sure really why that is. Obviously the Death Star blew up, we remember that from the movies, and I did cut out a little bit of the AT-AT battle sequence because that was my least favorite level, and I wanted to show you guys a good mix of things. But now we're in this first-person light gun shooting sequence, and I will say that I think this is the first time ever I've seen stormtroopers actually be able to hit anybody with their blasters. Usually they miss by a mile off, but since they want your quarters magically, their aim has gotten much improved in the arcade game. That's what I do really appreciate about this game, is that you get different play styles. You have three unique experiences. You kind of have that vehicle combat section, you have the light gun style section, and then you have those individual lightsaber battles, which I still can't really 100% figure out how they work. It's just not really intuitive to me. And I would say that this game is not perfect. If you definitely love the Star Wars franchise, you're going to have a lot of enjoyment out of it. But if you're just a casual fan, you've seen the movies like me, this is a really good game, but there are some moments where what it's asking you to do is relatively vague. Now, you got a little information on the side art of the cabinet on how to play it, but if you're using the Supermodel emulator, you're going to kind of have to look up what's expected of you in those lightsaber battles, just because, like I said, they're not the most intuitive things ever. But this game, the sum of its parts is greater than each individual level, because they are longer levels, and some of the things like the speed bike battles, I feel like they might go on a little bit too long, even though they are enjoyable. But that's kind of what the game is. It's really a showpiece for what the Star Wars trilogy was. And I did get a chance to play the Battle Pod a few years ago in an arcade, one of the newer games, and I would say that's definitely a much improved game over Star Wars Trilogy Arcade. But that's not to say that this game is bad. It's still extremely good. It's just in spots maybe a little bit longer feeling than I would like, because now that we're in the ENDOR forest here, things just kind of drag a tiny bit, and I kind of just want to get to the next level. And I think that might be my only issue with the game, is that sometimes midway through a level, I'm kind of hoping it's going to end soon so I can see the next thing. But I do love that you get all these different little intercuts of story in between your gameplay. And I do love that you're able to move freely left and right to try to avoid obstacles, and it becomes very difficult to aim at the same time while navigating the ship. It puts some good challenge up. But all you do is just watch a little bit of the gameplay, and like I said, if I come back in 10 seconds, that means YouTube yelled at me and I had to re-upload the video. But enjoy watching it, enjoy hearing the music, the sound effects. They're all perfect for what they are. And we'll come back in just about a minute and we'll close out Star Wars Trilogy Arcade. But enjoy. And I was totally right because Disney decided to copyright strike my video when I uploaded it, so you're not going to hear the sounds or the soundtrack, you're just going to get my lovely voice a little bit more. That's the unfortunate thing about doing games like this, is that everything is so copywritten that even if 2 seconds worth of the soundtrack play, it's going to set up a copyright flag and they're not going to be happy with me. I mean, there's not going to be a guy in a mouse costume showing up at my house kneecapping me with a steel pipe, but I don't like uploading videos that are going to be a hassle for me. But as I have a little bit more time to talk, I do just love how good Model 3 looks. I think it still looks incredible. Granted, some of the models are low polygon counts, but all the color, I don't know what they were doing with Model 3, like how they dealt with the color science, but everything is so vibrant and so visually appealing to me that I think it does a better job of these games holding up than had they gone with a way more dramatic color profile or lighting system. And now I'm about ready to get back to my old commentary. We'll get rid of that copyright strike and re-upload it. So right back to my normal commentary now. Now you can accidentally shoot one of the Ewoks that runs across the screen. You're going to lose a little life doing that. But more importantly, you don't really want to shoot the Ewoks. They're just really entertaining guys. When I grew up and watched this movie, I didn't love the movie that much, but I definitely loved Ewoks and I had a lot of their toys. So I feel extra bad if I accidentally shoot one. But short of that, I do love the light gun sequences, and that's probably just because I'm so partial to light gun games, but they are really enjoyable, and you get these nice set pieces here where you get a little bit of a boss battle in between some casual shooting sections, and you have different boxes that you have to aim at to attack the weak spot so that you're able to destroy the enemy in front of you. So as far as that's concerned, Sega always did a great job with light gun games. I mean, I keep saying light gun, but this was definitely XY coordinate based on the cabinet, and we've blown up that entire radar array, and we can move on to the next sequence, which is the lightsaber duel with Darth Vader. And I have never beaten this, even when I played it in arcades. Just the way the stick moves versus what direction it shows you, everything is inverted, and that has never worked with my brain. I can never convince myself to move one direction when the screen is telling me to move another. Maybe your brain is totally used to that, and you use inverted controls when you're playing games, but for me, I can't handle that. It's just something that doesn't click, and I don't really understand how to attack. Now, if I played it a bunch more, I definitely get used to it, but the problem with arcade games is there aren't really any save features, so you get one chance to be able to defeat Darth Vader, and I clearly failed, so he's going to live a little bit longer in this game, and it kind of destroys the canon of the story. But definitely, to me, the strongest part of the game is the ending, because you get this gigantic set piece with this large space battle where you have to destroy the second Death Star. Now, we keep on calling it the Death Egg from Sonic, and I don't know why that is. It's just maybe how my memory works. But I absolutely love this level. You get this giant fly, and you have all these different ships shooting around the screen, and it's a long level, but there's action from start to finish. And that's what I love about the Model 3, is it was able to push so many polygons around and keep everything running at 60 frames a second, because it actually dropped polygons, not frames. So models that actually diminish in quality to keep the frame rate up versus it running at a lower frame rate. And you can definitely feel that here with all the different stars in the background kind of blurring around your screen. Everything just makes us feel like a huge dramatic moment, because obviously it was. In the movies, this was the climax. And I do love the fact that the game just takes the greatest hits from each movie in the original trilogy and puts them into an arcade experience. And Sega was great at this. And we've already covered The Lost World on the channel as well. And for Model 3, they had a decent amount of licensed games. But that's why these games unfortunately never get ported, and you don't really see them again, because the licensing issues are always a big deal. They may only have the license for so many years, or they may only have the license to put it out in arcades. So if they want to do a home port, they have to go back to whoever owned the rights to Star Wars at that point in time, I'd assume, the Lucas company, and they have to renegotiate being able to release the games. And if it's not a financial proposition that they think is going to definitely make them money, they're just not going to bother, because no company is going to put a game out that's guaranteed not to make at least the initial investment back plus a profit. And that's why a lot of the games that have shown up on Unported playlist aren't available on consoles, never got ported. They're just down to licensing issues. But short of that, that is Star Wars Trilogy Arcade. It's an awesome game. It's probably a lot better if you do love the movies. I like them, I've seen them, but I'm not a huge fan. But if you are and you've never played the game, definitely you should check it out, because it's got all the greatest parts of all the original trilogy. Except trying to shoot the reactor in the second Death Star, it is extremely hard to actually hit it. But short of that, that is Star Wars Trilogy Arcade. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you could do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. It takes us a lot of time and energy to make each and every one of these episodes. We appreciate your supports. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I'm sure one of you guys is going to tell me I called the wrong thing the wrong name. Short of that, we'll be back on Tuesday and Friday with more episodes, and Sunday with another Unported arcade game. See you next time, guys. Bye-bye.